Welcome back to another Britgrid intermediate blender class. Today we're going to be carrying on making our modular building, and what we're going to try and achieve is to create a rounded window section to go alongside our rectangular windows. Now I'm just showing you this, so this is hopefully what we're going to achieve. I won't be saving my file as I'm working, rather stupidly, because I've already done this work, so I've already made it, but I'll show you how that's done. So you should have something similar to this. Let me just align my cursor. Align view, center cursor and view all, there we go. And I'm just going to click on the Z letter on my widget on the viewpoint area. I'm just moving the window so you can see it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this window. So I'm going to turn my snap on to the closest. I'm going to select my window and I'm going to do Shift D. I'm just going to move it up out the way. I'm going to select one of these vertices and I'm just going to move that and snap it onto the other one like that. And then we can go back to, back to the kind of side view. Some bits of this window we won't need to see for the start of what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this lintel and I'm going to press H just to hide it. In order to gauge the actual size of the window that we're going to be making, I'm going to copy some of these vertices. So we're going to copy that one there, so Shift D, I'm just going to move it across here like that. And we also need to mark, let's mark the top area of the window frame as well. So we'll take this one, Shift D, just going to move it across, just snap it to the other one, and we'll also mark where the kind of top of the glass comes to. So Shift D to duplicate and then just move it across. So now we've got markers for the top of our wall, the top edge of the window frame and the top edge of the glass. I'm going to go into wireframe mode, and what we can do now is we can select with B these vertices here and we can just delete them. So I'm pressing the delete key, delete vertices. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to snap my cursor to this edge here. So I'm going to select that edge. I'm going to do mesh, snap, cursor to selected. We're going to go back into Vertex selection, and I'll probably turn off the snap tool for this. I'm going to press A few times just to undo the selection. Then I'm going to box select everything. Actually, let's not do that. Let me just have a quick look and see what we've got going on here. Whoops. Yeah, some of these faces we don't need. So let me go into shaded view. So we actually don't need this face here, so just delete it. Delete faces. We probably won't need this face. Delete faces. We don't need that face. Delete faces. And we probably don't need that face, so delete faces. That's better. So let's go back into Wireframe. We'll go back to the edge view. So now I'm going to box select all the verts above the point that we want to align the vertices to, which is where the cursor is. So I'm going to go, and that's on the Y direction, you notice. So S to scale. Oh, no, let me undo that. Oops. Let me put the medium point to the 3D cursor. So let's try that again. So S to scale, Y for the Y direction, and then 0, then enter. So that should then give us this. Okay. And okay, that looks all right. We'll worry about what we need to do with it in a second. Let me just, I don't think we need, I'm just working out what faces we need and what faces we don't. Don't think we need that face, so let's delete that face. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to select some of these points, or better still, some of these edges that we want to duplicate. Probably don't need that edge. Don't need that edge. Don't need that one. Let's just do a B and a middle mouse button to deselect that one. We probably do need that one. We will need that one. Okay. So let's go back into the Z view. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the rotate tool, which is this one here, the spin tool. So we can click on that. It's why it's important to align your 2D cursor. And we can now spin that. And then if we go down to the widget, we can set the angle to 180 degrees, 180 D, and then enter. Oops. Alright, well let's make that minus 180 degrees. That's better. And we can just press enter on that. Now, just for the sake of completeness, we've got some duplicate vertices here. So what we can do is we can box select all of this area. So A, B for box select, we'll just select all of that. And we'll go mesh. We need to do merge by distance. So I believe. Okay, so that removed 3 vertices, so that's good. We will need to create a back to our window. Let's go into this view now. So that's quite easy to do. We can go to edge mode. We can select this edge, and we can, I don't know if that's got it. No, okay, select this edge. Just doing this so it's easier to see, and then I'm Shift, Alt and left clicking, and we're just going to make a face there, so F for face. Oh, and you can see that we've picked up a spurious face over here. We must have had a vert selected, so Control Z. Let's deselect one of these vertices, this one here probably. And we probably don't need that vert selected if it's selected. And that looks okay to me. So we can do F to fill that with a face. Now let's have a look at our other window edge. We've got a line there that we don't need, or an edge rather, so let's just see if we can delete it. Delete edge. We got another one there. Yeah, delete edge. There we go. And we're going to do the same again to this edge here. So we're just going to run round, select this edge. It's fine doing it one at a time. This edge. Let's have to fill. And now we just need to assign some materials to those. We can do that in a minute. So let's go back to our Z view. And now what we need to do is we need to check that our kind of window heights, etc. are correct. So let's go back to edge snapping. We'll select these 2 vertices. We'll go to active element, and then we can press E to extrude them. So we can extrude them to these marks along here. So E on Y, move up to that one. E on Y. Oh, didn't work that time. Hold on. So extrude on Y. Don't know why that's giving me scale. Try that again. So E for extrude. It's not actually working. That's very interesting. Okay, well we could try the extrude tool. That one, extrude region. Maybe not. Let's go back to there. So we should be able to do E for extrude and Y. That's better. So we're just, and same again, E to extrude on Y. Oh, we missed one. Okay, well we can subdivide that. So select that line, edge. We'll do a subdivide. Go back to Vertex, select that vertices, and we want to snap that one to about there. Where are we now? We're here. Probably got one more. We also we've done the same thing on that one there, so let's just do edge, subdivide, back to vertex mode, select that vertex, and we can move that up or down. We want to move it to there. So let's do the same thing again. So E to extrude, Y for the Y-axis, moving up, and this time we'll snap it to that one. We can fill these areas now. So let me just turn my snap tool off. So we can just select these vertices and go F to fill, like that. And do the other side as well. Nearly there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extrude all of these vertices. So we're going to press E to extrude, Y for the Y-axis, just extrude them up. Now we're going to snap our 2D cursor to this point here. So mesh, snap, cursor to selected. We're going to select all of these and we're going to scale it, so making sure that we're set to the 3D cursor as the pivot point. So we're going to scale S to scale on Y, then press 0, then enter, and now we can fill in. Let me just extrude this one. So let's do to active element, there we go, and we want to do this one as well. We'll turn the snapping back on. So extrude on Y, move it up, and we want to move it to that point there. So now we can fill in these faces like that. And we do need to re-UV map this area. So we can select all of these. In fact, we might as well do them all. In fact, we're going to have to do this later anyway. But we can pull out our rats. Can I control Z that? Yeah, let me pull out my side panel. Oh, crud, I've done it again. Control Z. Let me pull out the side panel. If I can get hold of it. There we go. So we can just set that to our UV editor. Select all of these faces. I'm going to redo this in a second anyway. And I'm just going to press U. And I'm going to do project from view bounds, which should remap it for us. The reason I'm going to redo it is because if you look at our two windows, you'll notice that this window is a bit high. It comes a bit too close to the edge of the kind of edge of the edge of the wall. So we'll sort that out in a second. And in fact, if you look at this window, you'll notice where the kind of bottom of this line is. That's where the top of that window section comes to. So let's have a look at that now. So if I go into, and in fact that, okay, we'll copy this vert. Is it that vert? No, it's probably one of these verts. It's probably that vert that it comes to actually. So let's see what we can do about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to box select all of these vertices, and then I'm going to move, actually I'm going to select that one there. I'm going to move this down if I can. Okay, I've got my snap on. We probably want to snap that one, I would have thought. See if we can do that. So it needs to be something like that. That doesn't look too bad, that looks about right. So let's select these front faces again. So just do a box select on those. Oh, actually, we don't need to select those, but we do need rats. Let's use the C key. It's a bit easier to do a circle select. So let's do the same thing again. U-turn wrap, project from view bounds, and let's have a look and see what that looks like. Okay, that's not too bad. Now we need to sort out this back face. That's easy enough to do. So we can select that face and that face. We can go back to our control and click on Z for our view. We can swap our UV image to our diffuse one, and we can say U again, U, project from view bounds. Okay, that didn't work. Let's do, we need to keep the aspect ratio, so let's swap back to this one. Let's do U, project from view. That's better. Then let's swap back to our other diffuse texture for the window. Now what we can do is we can just scale that. Let me just move that so that you can see it a bit better. And we'll scale it from the medium point. Let's turn our snapping off. So S to scale. Oh, let's set our cursor somewhere sensible, like there. So let's do S to scale, scale it up. R to rotate, hit control, just rotate it round 90 degrees. We need to scale it up a little bit more, so S to scale, we need it to be about maybe that big. Let's try moving it. G, maybe a little bit bigger than that. So scale, I'm going to press down on the shift key just so I've got a little bit finer control over the scaling. Then G, and I'm going to move it on the X direction, something like that. Looks okay. Let's do scale just a little bit more. Something like that. I'm going to do G to move it on the Y, and then Y to move it on the Y direction. just going to position that. Okay, so we can go back to our properties view now. Just move that back in there. What we need to do now is we need to correct these edge seams. So we need to remake those. We can get rid of that edge seam. So let's do that. Let's do edge clear seam. So we do want to mark that as a seam. And we do want to mark these as a seam. When we retexture this brickwork, well, it's not tricky, but it's a little bit finicky to get the brickwork looking right, but we'll have a look at that. Edge, mark seam. Okay, not looking too bad. So let's have a look at that now. Oh, we've missed a seam. Let's mark that one. Edge, mark seam. Just debating whether I need to mark those as individual pieces or whether I can get away with. Let's try unmarking those seams. Edge, clear seam. We'll keep the top central seam. Oh, I've still missed a seam there, look. Edge, let's clear the seams there. Let's mark that seam. Edge, mark seam. So we now want to, if I select the faces, we now want to unwrap these sections. So let's try that. Let's go back to Control and Z. We can play our window again. Change this to the UV window. We can change our texture back to our brick texture. So we can now just do a U, and we're just going to do, let's do a let's do a smart UV project and say OK. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, well that's kind of interesting. It's not too bad, but obviously the bricks have they're scaled rather oddly. So we could try that again. So press rats. Let's do Control Z. Let's press U again. Let's tell it to reset that. Let's press U. Let's tell it to do follow active quads, length average. Let's see what that gives us. Let's have a look at that. Okay, we could probably scale that by quite a bit. So let's just scale that down. And let's have a look at that. Let's just move those onto somewhere handy. We can scale it a bit more. Let's just tweak where our cursor is. So scale it down a bit more. I'm just going to try and get it so that the brick size is roughly the same size. And we need to scale it in the X direction, I think. So let's try scale X. So we're just trying to match it, roughly speaking, to our other bricks. To be honest, you could scale that down a little bit more. Just trying to get it, roughly speaking, about right. That's still perhaps a little bit small. Okay, that looks kind of passable, doesn't it? So now let's go back to, let's put that back to properties. Just move that window in a little bit. We can now do Control and Z again, and I'm just going to show what we hid earlier on, what was hidden. So I'm just going to go up to Mesh and Reveal Hidden, because we've got our section here. And what we will want to do is we will want to, do you know, if I didn't know better, I would say that that window is still a bit out of shape. But let's not worry about it. I think we still need to reduce the size of that window down. Okay, we'll have a look at that in a minute. Or we could have a look at it now. Let's delete some of these vertices that we don't need. So just select everything with A a few times, B for box select, select those, press delete, delete vertices. What I'm going to do is just I'm just debating how I can do this. So what distance we want is, you know, that doesn't look too far out. That's just weird. Weird. Okay, okay, I think what I'm going to do is, because that is about the right height. Oh, this is a pain, because it means we're going to have to rejig things. But you can see I've got a gap of that much, roughly that much, between the top of the window. So let's do B for box select, select all of that, and I'm just going to move that down. Let's do Control Z on that because I missed a vert. Let's do B. Oh, that's B. Select that vert as well. So I'm just going to move that down so that we've got about the same gap. Roughly speaking, something like that. We will have to redo our UV mapping, I think. We'll see. Anyway, so what I want to do now is I want to select, okay, I'm gonna, I don't know where to start that window edge from. Maybe from here, I don't know. So I need to place the 3D cursor. So if I select this vert and this vertices, and I set the cursor to the medium point, and I can say mesh snap cursor to selected. Let's just control and click on Z again. Oops, should have worked. Control, click on Z, there we go. So what I need to do now is this is going to make it difficult, maybe. Okay, so let's go B for box select, select that, select the faces. We're going to do Shift D to duplicate it, and we're going to rotate it through Can I press R to rotate? Control. Just and we want to set it about the same distance away from, so something like that, or better still, about there. Actually, that's not going to work. We need to set our cursor down to there. So let's snap the 3D cursor to that. Snap cursor to selected. We could do with getting rid of these bits. So L to select, D, delete the vertices. We could turn the snapping back on. So let's select all of those. Oh, let's select all of those. L. Damn, that's a K key. So letter L to select link verts. Turn on snapping. Turn it on to edge. Like that. Now we can go to our screw spin modifier, as long as we're set to the 3D cursor up here. So click on the spin modifier. We can pull that all the way around, and you'll notice we're at 100. Oh, minus 180. Perfect. So we can just press enter on that. That's done. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, not too bad. We're probably looking about right for that. I might just re-unwrap this kind of front section, and I might re-unwrap. Let's see what the back of the window blinds looks like. Yeah, to me that looks okay. So let's go to face select mode. Press A few times to deselect what we've got selected. Press C. So we'll select all these faces. We'll go back to control and click on the Z widget. We can then pull out, go to the UV editor. We can do U, project from view bounds. So that's fixed that. I might just remap this bit just to be safe and rather than sorry. Control and click on the Z again. So we can do U, project from view. Oh, that didn't work. How very strange. Could be because we've got an odd scale. Yeah. Okay. Let's I think if we select all this mesh, we need to separate that. So select, so go to mesh, separate, selection. So that will turn it into its own object. That is probably okay. We also need to do this bit. So go into edit mode. We can press L and L. So L on that bit, L on this bit. So let's separate those by selection. So mesh, separate by selection. Now you want to go to object mode. You want to select all of these bits, hopefully like that. Do object join. Then we want to go to edit mode. We want to select this section and do mesh separate by selection, because that's actually a separate object. Now back to where we were. So we want to select these faces, this face and this face, not that face, not that face. We want that face and that face. Control click on the Z widget. Actually why I was doing that is I'm going to apply scale and rotation. So apply object, apply all transforms, same thing for this one, object, apply all transforms. Let's go back to edit mode. Okay, we've lost the selection on those faces and we've selected the wrong object. Now we want to select that object. So let's go back to face select mode and edit mode. There we go. So control click on the Z widget. So we're now going to do view, project from view. That is still rather stretched. Not to worry, let's change our texture. Put it back to the diffuse texture. Oh, that looks okay now. So we can just snap our cursor into the middle of that somewhere like that. We can do rotate, hit the control key, rotate it 90 degrees, press S to scale, scale it up, just move it with G. Well, I would move it with G if I could. It's probably because we got snap on. I expect G. I could still do with scaling up a little bit. Scale. Just press down on Shift. Let's see what that looks like. Not too bad. Are the blinds about the right scale? I might scale that up just a little bit more. Just debating whether I ought to scale that in the, or move it rather. That should be where the top of the blinds is. That should be where the bottom of the blinds is. Yeah, I could scale that in. Let's just scale it just down a tad. Oh, come on. S. Shift. That's more like it. Just a tad. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap the cursor to this point here, then just scale it slightly on the Y so it, let's scale it on the X rather, scale X like that, so it matches. Now what we want to do is, let's hide this object, press H. I'm going to go into the wireframe mode. I'm going to click on Control Z. I just want to make a duplicate of these windows. Let's go back to properties on that. So we will want to duplicate this. So Shift D, and then we want to move it in the X direction. We also want to do the same with this one. Oh, look at that, that window, that top of the lintel is joined. Active element, Shift D. Just going to move that on the X as well. We now need to turn on our snapping again. Let's go to edit mode. Let's concentrate on this section here. So we need to join those together. Object, join. We need to join these together as well. We need to join that to that. Just shift selecting those, object, join. Let's go back to edit mode. We will select our, well, let's just go A to select all the verts. A to select all the verts, and just got the cat trying to sit on my lap. Come on then, Ninja. We'll set this to individual origins. We will shift select this corner. Set to active element. Then in theory you can just pull this across and it should snap onto that one. We want to do the same thing to this other section. So select this section, go to edit mode, A to select everything, shift select that corner, snap that in place. The reason I've done that is because I want to pull these windows over to the left a little bit in both cases. It is a bit of a pain because it means we'll have to redo the UV mapping, but it's not a major problem. So A to deselect everything, B to box select, and we'll just tweak it across here like that. And we need to do the same with this one. So change to this object, go to edit mode, tap A a few times to deselect everything, B for box select. We're just going to select all of those verts. We might keep that vert selected, and then we can just tweak that across to there. We will now need to redo the UV mapping on both of these. So we can pull that one out. We can set it to UV editor. We can switch it back to our ordinary texture, our wall texture. I'm going to press A to deselect everything, press C for circle select, scale that down a little bit. So I'm just going to run around the outside of this wall, and then I'm going to press U, then project from view bounds, and I'm going to do the same with this section here. Edit mode, tap A a few times, press C for circle select, select all the surround here like that, do the same again, U, project from view bounds. I just want to check to, oh, and then we need to flip these two, we need to mirror these two. So let's do that. Let's duplicate this one. So let's go active element. I don't know why that's medium point. Come on. Okay, it's because the geometry's, the alignment of the geometry isn't right. Could we apply all transforms? Would that fix it? Not really. Okay, tell you what we'll do. We'll set on these objects, we'll set the origin to the geometry, and we'll do that in each case. Set origin to geometry, set origin to geometry. That one's already done. So we want to duplicate these two. Well, let's see how well that works. So I'm going to do Shift D. I'm just going to move them across here, and then I'm going to do Object. We should be able to transform them. Transform. And oh, actually not transform, we just go down to mirror, and we want to mirror it on the X global axis like that. We will need to check to make sure on this one, face orientation. Okay, you can see that we've got some weird face issues on there, probably as we've been creating faces. But what we can do is we can go to edit mode. We can go we can do mesh normals, recalculate outside. Okay, and we've still got a few issues on that one. Let's have a look at that. Why have we got some issues on that? Let's see if we can do alpha linked mesh normals, recalculate outside. No, that's not working. Mesh, let's do normals, let's just flip the normals, that's better. So you want to do the same on these. So let's go to object mode. Then into edit mode, then A to select everything, mesh normals, recalculate outside. We'll select that and that with L, and we'll go mesh normals, flip. We can take our normal display back off now, or our face orientation display. Let's just turn snapping back on. Let's select these two objects. Let's go into edit mode. See if we can select them all, which we can. Set to active element, set to there, and just drag that across. And we should have something that looks a bit like that. And essentially that is kind of done for what we want to do at the moment. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, folks. Keep your eye on the Britgrid Intermediate Blender channel for updates and new videos and such like, and take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.